Okay, I've been procrastinating doing this video because this is the last one. This is the end. You saw it in the title. This is the last one. This is part 6. And it just sucks, you know. The past 2 years, the 2 years, that's over. I'm just catching it all up now. There was one lapse. That's it, you know. And some other stuff, but that's not as engaging as my whole entire meth story. But anyways, my name is Jake, and this video is gonna suck to do because I don't want it to end. Jake McCollum, welcome to the channel. If you're just now coming in, I suggest going back to, damn it, camera, come on now. Shit. I suggest going back to part 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and watching those for it to actually make sense. Don't just jump on here. But if you're just coming back, what's up, person that actually walked all the way through. And recap. So at the end of part 5, I said that I had left Texas, right? So part 1, 2, and 3, obviously, you know, I had flushed the meth like before December 31st going into 2017. So I was done going into 2018, sorry. So I was done with meth, but I was still abusing like Ritalin and alcohol and other stuff. But something important, when I got back to Florida, I had already arranged to go to another halfway house. I decided not to do the whole rehab thing because I didn't feel it was necessary, but I did go to an IOP program, which is kind of like rehab, except, you know, you live on your own, and it's like going to school, like only 3 days a week for a couple of hours. Not so intense, you know, like PHP. That's like you're in a facility and you can't leave, is what that means. And so I did that, and I stayed at this halfway house with some really close friends that I had already known about. You know, Hurricane Irma had passed at this point, obviously, because that was a while back, because I stayed in Texas for a while. And so I'm like right here, and you know, I still had Ritalin that I had kept, and I'm sure there's like a clip right here. And it was really tough for me to throw that Ritalin away when I got back to the halfway house. Matter of fact, I kept it for a week when I got to the halfway house, and just didn't tell anyone that I had it. And I didn't use, when I got back to Florida, I didn't use at all, even on the drive back, you know. And so obviously, yeah, I threw it out, and I remained clean for a while. So like the 40th vlog, alter ego, y'all know all about that from part 1. That obviously it's still something that I struggle with today. That was the video that from the clips in part 1, and then, you know, it just keeps going. And then I get to hiatus. Hiatus, you know, is I decided to take a break from YouTube because I got into real estate, which is a huge clusterfuck in itself. But that didn't last long because the halfway house that I had gone to decided to shut down because not all of the clients in the house were respectful or were not doing what they were supposed to do, and it was kind of going to shit. And so I decided to do this public service announcement, and it shows me packing my shit at this halfway house, about to leave. And so through here, I'm like homeless for a day or something, and I run in, or I ask a fellow delivery dude if he knows anywhere where I can live. And finally I get out of the whole halfway situation, and this man lets me live with him, and I'm super appreciative of you. If you're watching this, thank you for letting me stay as long as you let me. And we're about to get into some shit. This is where the one lapse comes in. But to go forward, this, you know, I'm going through here. 5-day trip to Texas is when my best friend gets married. Yeah, gets married. And so I go back to Texas for that, and I went back to Texas, I didn't drink, I didn't do anything. So as far as recovery goes, this is complicated because my recovery now, currently, in this video, is different than in these 2 videos right here. In these 2 videos right here, I'm completely and 100% devoted to not using anything like mind altering. So like any alcohol, like any pills, like, you know, any of that. And so I went that whole entire, that was really tough. Those 3 or 4 days were really tough for me to get through. But anyways, let's keep going. So I make it through here. I make it through here. How Lindsey Sterling saved my life. That's a beautiful video that I made. I end up getting Lindsey Sterling to freaking talk to me. I made her cry, but in a good way. But I keep going and doing a drug addict study on myself. So, again, Inception. So, in this video, I filmed myself for like 4 days, and I'm like bitching and like crying about wanting to relapse. And I filmed the whole entire process, and until I end up relapsing, pretty much, I think. 1 second later, so I actually had to like watch through this video, kind of. So see, what happened was I was doing well, I was working for delivery dudes, I was making YouTube videos, obviously, and I was staying at this new place, and I was missing something. I felt like I was missing something, and I was just getting depressed again, going through my anxiety again, dealing with a lot of shadow me stuff again, and I just developed this mindset where I had pretty much given up. Like, and there was no turning back. And so what I decided to do was to try and get a Ritalin prescription here in Florida, which was little did I know impossible, because when you go to rehab 3 times in Florida, it like stays like on a record, I guess. And so what happens is I'm like calling all of these doctors trying to get an appointment, because at this point I run out of insurance and it's hard to find a doctor, you know, that's cheap enough to... Anyways, I find one, and I get there, and I'm like, I have these problems, I had this prescription in Texas, and blah, blah, blah. And he was like, are you in recovery? Every doctor in Florida will ask you if you are in recovery, because they will not give you a certain drug, you know, if you're in recovery. Anyways, I didn't know that, and so I'm just like, I need Ritalin, I need this, just some other bullshit. And he's like, okay, let me go talk to like the head doctor or whatever in the back or whatever. And so he does that. I'm sitting in the waiting room like, what's he gonna say? And he comes back down the hall towards the door, and I hear him laughing. And he comes back in the room, and he's like, so you've got some like recovery related stuff on your record. So anyways, cut the story real quick. I did not get the Ritalin, and so I decided to revert to finding meth, because that was my way of getting back at the doctor. Well, fuck you, you're not gonna give me my Ritalin, I'm gonna go fucking find some meth. Like, how insane. Anyways, and I do eventually, you know, I set myself up. I was already in the mindset that it was gonna happen. There was like, I felt like no turning back. I wasn't talking to anyone about how I was feeling, and I go and like buy points, needles, and it was gonna happen. And so I found out this way to find it here in Florida. I'm not gonna say how, it's just irrelevant. Anyways, I find some, and I end up using for 1 night. And you know what happened was I freaking got back where I was staying, and I started using. And then that night, middle of the night, like my roommate just like knew something was up, because he was in recovery too. Thank you again so much for letting me stay there and stuff. But he texted me while I was using, and just he knew something was wrong. And I end up like, I was super high. I was really high, and I just like was like, what am I doing? And so I just texted him and was like, yeah, I'm using. And I went downstairs and I gave him all of the shit that I had, and I went back upstairs and like started crying, and it really sucked. And like 10 minutes later, after giving him the shit and going back upstairs and trying to cry myself to sleep, I was like, what the fuck did I just do? And so I go back downstairs, and I'm like, I want my shit back. Like, I'm not done. Like, I want it. I need it. And he was just like, no. And he didn't give it back. And again, thank you for helping me. Because, I mean, he's not my roommate anymore. But yeah, so I make it from this video, and I'm clean, and I go back to Texas, and, you know, I have a few drinks and stuff, and then I get to the Matrix vlog, and now I'm homeless, and that kind of puts us where we're at today, through here, and then look at that right there, my crystal meth story, part 1. I know I probably threw y'all off when I said I went back to Texas right there, had a couple of drinks or whatever. So, anyways, from the drug addict study or whatever, I've been clean ever since that video. Like we're pretty much like through, except my outlook on recovery has completely changed ever since that drug addict study on myself. And you know, occasionally I have a drink now. Like, my recovery is like just completely different. Like, this is probably the most important part of the whole entire series. Like, the way I look at it now is I'm just trying to stay clean from like meth and Ritalin and anything that puts me back into that mindset of I have to have it. I have to have it. Like, that's what I need the 12 steps for. The AA, Alcoholics Anonymous 12 steps. I feel like in my personal recovery that the 12 steps, it works. Especially when you work it. Like, if you work it fully, like 10, 11, 12 are continuing steps through your future. Like, there's no you do the 12 steps and that's it, you know? But you know, there's other types of recovery too. There's smart recovery, there's Narcotics Anonymous, there's even CMA, Crystal Meth Anonymous, and CA, Cocaine Anonymous, which both use the AA book, you know? The way I look at it though is that I don't have a problem with alcohol. Like, I don't have a problem like with weed. I haven't smoked weed in like a year and a half, maybe 2 years, just because I don't necessarily like it. And I don't like being drunk at all. I was the type of guy that would drink 2.5 beers and be like, okay, I feel it, like I'm just gonna stop. And I hate the feeling of being drunk. I've been drunk my whole entire life, like maybe twice. And it's just not a problem, you know? And there's some days where I'm just like, you know, I could really want to use right now, like meth or Ritalin, and I'm just like, well, just go have a drink instead. And on those days, I'm like, don't do the drink either, because maybe that feeling of getting a drink is going to activate you wanting the other shit even more. And so on those days, I'm like, I'm powerful enough to just take the rest of the day and not doing anything else. But days like the other day when I was with a coworker and my boss was excited about finishing a job. I work in construction. We just finished the job. He's like, I'm gonna get y'all a drink. And I'm like, cool. Thoughtless, you know? I'm thoughtless. Like, I go there, I enjoy myself, have a beer with my boss, and that was it, and I'm fine. Like, I'm not gonna go and freaking use meth because I went and had a drink. Like, it's not even a thing in my head anymore. But I understand that it's just not the same for everybody. It's personalized. You know, it's not talked enough about. People having individual recovery, you know? But that's how my recovery works, you know? And I want to be able to just help other people understand, you know? I mean, if you want to stay sober the rest of your life, and I don't even like putting it in words like that, if you want to go without a drink, or if you want to go without anything, heroin, meth, a pill, a drink, just any of that, anything mind-altering, then by all means, you are a fucking champion. Like, but that's just not for me, you know? Like, I see people, I've been going to meetings for like 12 years. Like, before I even started using meth, I had been going to meetings with my drug best friend because he had like gotten in trouble or something, and he had to go to AA meetings. And like, before I even graduated high school, I was going to meetings. Like, I know my shit, and it's just, up until like recently, I've just found that it's not for me. I see people in those meetings that are in their 60s and have 30 years, and that's insanely incredible. That's like the shit. But like, I just can't imagine. It's like they have a mental block in their head where they're just like, I don't know. Let me put it like this. If I have to go without anything, then the first thing I go to is meth. Like literally, I've had a year clean. I've had a year clean. What was the first drug I did after having a year clean though? It was meth. Like I didn't drink or I didn't smoke a blunt and be like, oh, okay, well, I relapsed. Well, now I'm gonna go and do some meth. No, like the first thing I did was meth, and it was because I had that like mental block that, Jake, you are not allowed to do anything. You know? Like, they say that addicts and alcoholics they can't be responsible with everything, you know? And there's no doubt in my mind that I am an addict and or alcoholic, you know? Or not an alcoholic, really. But then why am I able to go and have a drink and be perfectly fine? So the person that's probably watching this is like, he's probably fucked. Hey, he's probably gonna relapse in like 3 months, man. He can have a drink every once in a while. I just think that's bullshit. Like, it's just a mental block in my head. Like, if I go without everything, eventually I'm just gonna wanna fucking blow up. Anyways, that's my version of recovery. I'm sorry it's not like happy or anything, but I don't want to use meth. I don't want to use Ritalin anymore. Like, I'm happy now. I don't have that mental block in my head. If one day I'm like, I want to buy my boss a drink, or my friend asks me if I want to go and grab a beer or something, I'm in the clear. Like, that's fine with me now. You know, and if they said that and they're like, no, I can't do that, I'm in recovery, then that thought would haunt me that I had to say no to everything, and I would just eventually, it would build up. And then I would go and use meth. But that's just me. But I still praise the 12 steps. Even if you're not in recovery, I suggest using the steps. Because that is super helpful. Like, the higher power, the being able to tell what your character defects are, being able to write out all of the people that you've had resentments towards, making amends to all of those people, continuing to help others. Like, it's like the guidelines for life and what you're supposed to do in the first place. Like, it shouldn't even have anything to do with drugs. So like, I still praise and preach like the 12 steps to like everybody. So with that said, there's something else that that's important that I've been wanting to say for 8 years to one individual, and it's thank you. I hope you're watching this. This is a lot of people, like my family and like my friends, like it's hard to explain, but I know it seems as if they probably just don't like you because of everything that we've been through in the past 8 years. And you know, you are also the person that introduced me to rehab. You are the one who actually wanted me to get help, like at one point. And if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be here in Florida. You know, I could be dead on my apartment bed right now, where I would freaking shoot shit up until I couldn't feel my face anymore. I'm an addict too, you're an addict, and it's just, I feel you, and I just want you to know that I still love you after everything that we've been through. And a lot of people are probably going to be mad about me if they know who I'm talking about, but just know that I forgive you for everything that has happened in the past, and that I'm also sorry. And YouTube, just like with that said, I'm gonna go ahead and end the video here. This is part 6. This is the end. What I think I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna make a spin-off. I've got a whole bunch of notes that I have been taking throughout this whole entire process, and just like kind of like traumatic times and stuff, a lot of stuff that I left out, and I think I'm gonna make a separate video and put a lot of that stuff in there, just because I feel like people would find that entertaining is the wrong word to use, but more not engaging either, just more people would watch it, and I just want other people to know like some of the other stuff that I've been through too, so just kind of like a spin-off. But pretty much for the whole entire drug story, this is it, YouTube. This was my experience with crystal meth for 8 years, and I'm so excited that I got to do this, and it also took me down memory road, and like now I am kind of replenished because I had to explain all of this again, and I learned where I came from, and now I'm like sitting in this like Publix parking lot by myself, and just I'm happy, you know. It's drizzling right now. I'm happy for the rain, but anyways, I'm getting ahead. I'm so thankful, and I freaking love y'all, and I want to see other people succeed, and I want these videos to help other people, and you know, don't implement my drug use and everything, but more importantly, like, my recovery may not work for you, and your recovery may not work for me. You've got to personalize it, you've got to make mistakes, you've got to fail in order to succeed. I failed for 8 years, and I'm still working on it. But that's it. I love y'all. Please like, subscribe, leave a comment down below, hit the notification bell so that the YouTube algorithm can push this shit, and so more people can see it, and hopefully I can help someone out. But with that said, I love you, YouTube. I love you, subscribers, and we'll see y'all in future vlogs and future videos. Bye.